I woke up with a start, my heart racing, as the soft, melancholy notes of a song seeped through the walls of my dimly lit bedroom. The sound felt both familiar and foreign, like a whisper from a forgotten dream. I lay there for a moment, disoriented by the melody that seemed to float in the air, wrapping around me like a delicate veil. It was a haunting tune, one that tugged at something deep within me, stirring emotions I hadn't felt in a long time. "What is that?" I muttered to myself, pushing the covers off and swinging my legs over the side of the bed. The wooden floor felt cool against my feet as I stood up, feeling a mix of curiosity and trepidation. The song wasn't just a sound. It felt like a call, an invitation to uncover its source. I padded through my small apartment, the faint light of early morning illuminating the walls adorned with my own artwork. Each piece told a story, a fragment of my life captured on canvas, yet none of them seemed to resonate with the same intensity as the song. I followed the melody, my heart pounding in rhythm with the notes. As I moved through the living room and into the kitchen, the sounds seemed to ebb and flow, a tide of emotion that pulled me closer. I glanced out the window, expecting to see someone playing an instrument outside, but the street was empty, the world still waking up. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the music wash over me, trying to decipher its origin. "Maybe it's just in my head," I whispered, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. The melody felt like a thread connecting me to something or someone just out of reach. I shook my head, trying to clear my thoughts, and continued my search around the apartment, my footsteps echoing in the silence. As I moved through the hallway, flashes of my past began to invade my mind, uninvited yet undeniably vivid. I saw Sophie's smile, bright and infectious, her laughter filling the air around us like sunlight. I remembered our late-night conversations, the way her eyes sparkled with passion as she spoke about art and life. But there were also memories of Mia, my best friend, her quiet strength grounding me in moments of uncertainty. The two women had shaped my life in ways I hadn't fully understood until now, and the music seemed to weave their presence into the very fabric of my being. Why am I thinking about them now? I pondered aloud, feeling a knot form in my stomach. The song swelled, pulling me deeper into my thoughts, and I realized that it was more than just nostalgia. It was a reminder of choices I had made or failed to make. The melody began to fade as I stood in the middle of the living room, a mixture of emotions swirling inside me like a tempest. I felt an inexplicable connection to the music, as if it were echoing the unspoken words I had left hanging in the air between me and the women who meant so much to me. I closed my eyes again, trying to grasp the feelings that danced just beyond my reach. "Why do you haunt me?" I murmured, not sure if I was addressing the melody or the memories. The music faded completely, leaving only silence in its wake. I opened my eyes, feeling a void where the melody had been, and the absence left me feeling more lost than before. I stood there for a moment, the weight of my thoughts pressing down on me, until a sudden realization hit me. "Maybe I need to talk to Mia," I said, the idea forming like a fragile thread of hope. She always had a way of grounding me, of making the chaos in my mind seem manageable. I could still hear her voice, calm and steady, offering insights that cut through the noise. Perhaps she would know what to make of this strange morning, this haunting song that had stirred something deep inside me. I glanced at my phone, the time flashing back at me. It was still early, but I knew Mia would be up by now, likely sketching or preparing for her latest art project. I hesitated for a moment, unsure if I should reach out so soon. What would I even say? "Hey!" I woke up to a mysterious song and suddenly can't stop thinking about my complicated feelings for two women. I chuckled bitterly at the absurdity of it, but the thought of Mia's reassuring presence was enough to push me forward. I grabbed my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen as I debated how to phrase my message. After a brief internal struggle, I typed out a simple text. "Hey Mia, are you free to meet up for coffee? I could really use a friend right now." I hit send and paced the living room as I waited for her reply. What was I thinking? It was just a song after all. But the weight of the memories felt heavier, and I knew I needed to talk about it. Moments later, My phone buzzed, and I quickly picked it up. "Sure, I'm at the cafe near the studio. See you soon." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Mia was always upbeat, her enthusiasm contagious, and I hoped it would help distract me from the whirlwind of thoughts swirling in my mind. I grabbed my jacket and headed out, the crisp morning air greeting me as I stepped outside. The cafe was just a few blocks away, and as I walked, I couldn't shake the feeling that the song still lingered in the back of my mind, a haunting reminder of the choices I had yet to confront. When I arrived at the cafe, the familiar scent of coffee enveloped me, grounding me in the present. I scanned the room for Mia and spotted her at a small table in the corner, sketchbook open, pencil in hand. She looked up and smiled as I approached, her expression lighting up the room. "Hey, you made it!" she exclaimed, her voice bright and warm. "I was starting to think you'd ghost me." "Sorry, just had a strange morning," I replied as I sat down, trying to shake off the heaviness that clung to me. "You know, the usual existential crisis and all." Mia raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. "Oh, do tell. What's going on?" I hesitated, unsure of where to start. "I woke up to this haunting song," I began, gesturing vaguely with my hands as I searched for the right words. It felt like it was calling me or something. It made me think of everything, really, like all the moments I've let slip away. Mia leaned in, her eyes focused on me with an intensity that made me feel seen. "What kind of moments?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my unspoken feelings pressing against my chest. "Moments with Sophie and you," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I keep thinking about what could have been, about how I never really said what I felt." The tension in the air shifted as Mia's expression softened. "Ben, you know it's okay to feel that way. Life is complicated, and so are feelings. But what's really bothering you?" I looked down at the table, tracing the grain of the wood with my fingertips. I don't want to regret anything. I feel like I've been holding back, and it's time to confront it." "Then do it," she encouraged gently. "You can't change the past, but you can decide how you want to move forward." I nodded, her words resonating deeply with me. "You're right. I just need to find the courage to be honest with myself and with both of you." As we talked, the conversation flowed, the tension between us easing as we delved into our shared experiences, our passions, and our fears. But even as we laughed and reminisced, the melody of that haunting song lingered in the corners of my mind, urging me to confront the unspoken feelings that had woven their way into the fabric of my life. But for now, sitting across from Mia, I felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps the song was a reminder not just of what I had lost, but of the possibilities that lay ahead, waiting for me to seize them before they slipped away once more. I awoke abruptly, the remnants of a dream still swirling in my mind, only to be met with the haunting strains of a melody. It was soft and melancholic, seeping into my consciousness from somewhere deep within my home. I sat up in bed, my heart racing, a mix of curiosity and apprehension coursing through me. Where was that music coming from? As I swung my legs over the side of the bed, I felt the coolness of the wooden floor beneath my feet. The song lingered in the air, almost tangible, drawing me from the comfort of my blankets. I made my way through the dimly lit hallway, the sound weaving through the walls like a whisper. Each step seemed to echo the rhythm of the melody, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was calling out to me, urging me to follow. In the living room, the music was louder, filling the quiet space with an emotional weight. I searched for its source, my eyes scanning the room until they landed on the old record player in the corner. It hadn't been used in ages, yet there it was, spinning a record I didn't even remember owning. But as I approached, the music faded, leaving only the stillness of the room and the fluttering of my heart. Flashes of my life collided in my mind, unbidden memories of Sophie and Mia swirling like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. Sophie, with her bright laugh and bright eyes, had painted colors on my otherwise monochrome existence. And then there was Mia, my best friend, whose subtle warmth and understanding had anchored me through countless storms. The juxtaposition of these two women felt like a weight on my chest, each moment with them, a thread in the fabric of my heart. I sank into the worn couch, the silence around me settling uncomfortably. The melody lingered faintly in my ears, as if it were still trying to reach me. I closed my eyes, allowing myself to drift into those memories. I recalled the way Sophie had looked at me that day in the gallery, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she spoke about the art surrounding us. It was the perfect moment, and yet I had hesitated. The thought of Mia brought a different kind of ache. She had always been there, a steadfast presence in my life, but there was an unspoken tension between us, a current of feelings we both danced around but never truly acknowledged. I felt it now, an uncomfortable truth simmering just beneath the surface, like oil on water. The next day, I found myself sitting across from Mia in our favorite cafe, the aroma of coffee mingling with the sweet scent of pastries. I could sense the unease hanging in the air, thick and palpable. Mia stirred her drink, her gaze fixed on the swirling patterns of cream, avoiding my eyes. "Ben, have you seen the new exhibit at the gallery?" she started, her voice steady but lacking its usual enthusiasm. "Not yet. I've been busy," I replied, my heart not in it. I could feel the weight of unspoken words pressing between us. "It's really something. There's this one piece that just, I don't know, it really speaks to me," she said, finally meeting my gaze. There was a flicker of something in her eyes. Frustration, perhaps? And I felt the need for honesty creeping in, but I hesitated. "Yeah, I've always thought art has a way of capturing emotions we can't quite put into words," I said, trying to keep the conversation light, but the heaviness remained. "Exactly," she continued, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. "But sometimes I wonder if we're just as good at hiding our own emotions. Like we're afraid to really say what we feel." Her words struck a chord within me, and I could feel the tension rise. "Mia, I started, but she cut me off. Ben, I just feel like there's a wall between us lately. I don't know why, but it's like we're dancing around something important," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. I swallowed hard, my mind racing. I wanted to tell her everything. The doubts, the fears, the feelings I had tucked away for so long. But the moment felt fragile, and I didn't want to shatter it with my uncertainty. "Mia, I began, but the words tangled in my throat as I watched her expression shift from frustration to something akin to sadness. "I know you have a lot on your mind, Ben. I just wish we could be more open with each other," she said, her eyes searching mine for answers. "I'm trying," I replied, my voice thick with emotion. It's complicated. Is it about Sophie?" she asked, her tone sharp, cutting through the haze of my thoughts. I flinched at the mention of her name. "No, it's not just that. I mean, yes, but it's more than that. It's about us." "Then why don't you just say it?" she urged, a hint of frustration creeping into her voice. "I feel like I'm losing you, Ben." Her words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I wanted to reach across the table and take her hand, to comfort her, to tell her that she meant everything to me. But the fear of crossing that line paralyzed me. "I need time, Mia," I finally said, the honesty slipping out in a whisper. "Time for what?" she pressed, her brow furrowed in concern. "To figure things out," I replied, my heart racing. "I just don't want to hurt anyone." She sighed, leaning back in her chair, the tension between us palpable. "I just wish you'd trust me enough to share what you're really feeling," she said quietly. "I do trust you," I insisted, my voice firm. "It's just, I don't know how to express this." The conversation faded into an uneasy silence, and I felt the weight of my indecision pressing down on me. I could see the disappointment in Mia's eyes, and it struck me like a dagger. As I left the cafe, my heart felt heavy, the air around me thick with unresolved emotions. I couldn't shake the melody that had haunted me since I woke up, weaving its way through my thoughts. On the walk home, the music surged within me, rising to a crescendo that felt almost like a physical presence, pulled me back into memories of Sophie, of moments I had let slip through my fingers. I could almost hear her laughter, See the way her eyes lit up when she spoke about art. It was a bittersweet reminder of what could have been, and I felt a pang of regret. I arrived at my apartment, the walls echoing with the silence that had become all too familiar. The melody lingered in my mind, a siren song urging me to confront my feelings, to make a choice. But the echoes of my conversation with Mia weighed heavily on my heart, and I felt trapped between two worlds, one filled with the possibility of love and another steeped in the fear of loss. As I sank into the couch, I couldn't help but wonder if I was destined to repeat the mistakes of the past. Would I hesitate again, letting the opportunity to express my feelings slip away?
Or seria este o momento de mudar minha vida?
I woke up abruptly, the gentle strains of a haunting melody filling the room. It was a sound so ethereal yet melancholic, as if it had woven itself into the fabric of my dreams, only to slip away upon waking. My heart raced with curiosity and a hint of fear. I sat up in bed, the soft morning light filtering through the curtains, casting a warm glow that contrasted with the chill of uncertainty in my chest. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and padded quietly through the house, each step echoing in the stillness. The music seemed to dance just out of reach, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was calling me. As I navigated through the familiar rooms, flashes of my life flickered through my mind. Moments that had shaped me, moments that had left me stranded in a sea of what-ifs. Sophie and Mia, two names that evoked a whirlwind of emotions. Sophie, with her infectious laughter and the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about her passions. Mia, my best friend, always there with her grounded wisdom and unwavering support. But beneath the surface of our friendships lay an undercurrent of unspoken truths, a silence that felt heavy, waiting to be broken. As I continued my search for the source of the music, I found myself lost in thought. I recalled a night at an art exhibition with Sophie, a night that had started with promise but ended in regret. We had wandered through the gallery, surrounded by vibrant colors and creative expressions. Yet all I could focus on was the way she smiled at the other man across the room. My heart had raced with a mix of hope and despair as I hovered on the edge of confessing my feelings, but I hesitated, paralyzed by fear of rejection. Ben, are you even listening? Mia's voice broke through my reverie, pulling me back to the present. We were sitting in our usual cafe, the scent of coffee mingling with the soft chatter of other patrons. Mia stirred her drink absently, her brow knitted in thought. I could sense the tension hanging between us, thick and unyielding. "Yeah, I'm here," I replied, forcing a smile. "What were you saying?" "I was talking about my new art project," she said, her tone slightly sharper than usual. "It's about capturing the essence of lost opportunities. You know, moments that slip away without us even realizing it." She looked at me intently, as if searching for something in my eyes. I nodded, trying to mask the unease brewing inside me. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Sounds meaningful," I said, my voice trailing off as I recalled that fateful night with Sophie. "Meaningful, yeah," she echoed, but I could hear the frustration in her voice. "But it's more than that, Ben. It's about being honest with ourselves and with others. You've been so distant lately." I felt a pang of guilt. She was right. "I'm just thinking about things," I admitted, my gaze falling to the table. "Things I wish I had said." "Like what?" Mia pressed, her eyes searching mine. I hesitated, the weight of the truth heavy on my tongue. "Like how I should have told Sophie how I felt that night at the exhibition." Mia's expression shifted, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of something deeper in her eyes. "You never did you?" she asked softly. "And now you're stuck in this limbo because of it." The conversation hung in the air, thick with unspoken words. I wanted to reach out, to confess everything that had been building inside me. My feelings for both of them, the confusion that tangled my heart, but the fear of losing what we had kept me rooted in silence. As I walked home later, the melody returned, more intense and alluring than before. It wrapped around me like a warm embrace, pulling me into its depths. I closed my eyes, letting it wash over me, when suddenly, I was transported back to that night with Sophie. The gallery was alive with color and laughter, the air buzzing with energy. I could see Sophie standing there, her hair cascading over her shoulders, a radiant smile lighting up her face as she spoke with that man. They were laughing, their chemistry undeniable. And there I was, a mere spectator in my own life, my heart pounding in my chest. I remembered the way she had looked at me just moments before, the invitation in her gaze, and how I had hesitated. I could almost hear her voice, calling out to me, urging me to take a step forward. "Ben, why don't you come over?" she had said, but I had only smiled weakly, too terrified to bridge the gap between us. The music swelled around me, a symphony of longing and regret. I could feel the weight of my decision pressing down on me. I was trapped, watching my past unfold like a cruel joke, an opportunity lost to time. Why didn't I say anything? I whispered to myself, the pain of my choices clawing at my insides. Suddenly, the music cut off, plunging me back into the present. I was standing in my living room, the silence deafening after the emotional whirlwind I had just experienced. Confusion and anguish spiraled within me, and I felt the familiar ache of regret settle heavily on my chest. I sank onto the couch, my heart racing and my mind racing even faster. The melody, the memories, the unfulfilled feelings, they all swirled together, creating a storm of emotion that left me breathless. I had been given chances, opportunities to express my truth, to embrace my feelings, but I had let them slip away, like grains of sand through my fingers. I couldn't keep living like this, haunted by the past and paralyzed by the fear of the future. I needed to confront my feelings, to understand the connection I felt with the music and the pain of what I had lost. It was time to face the melodies of my heart and either let them guide me to new beginnings or risk losing myself in the echoes of regret. I woke up abruptly, my heart racing as the soft, melancholic melody invaded my dreams. The notes were delicate, weaving through the air like a whisper, and I could have sworn it was coming from somewhere in my house. Rubbing the sleep from my eyes, I sat up in bed, curiosity battling against a lingering sense of dread. I swung my legs over the side and stood, my feet cold against the wooden floor. The melody seemed to guide me, pulling me from my room and down the hallway. I walked slowly, peering into the living room, then the kitchen, but the source of the music remained a mystery. As I moved, the echoes of my life began to flash before my eyes. Moments with Sophie, the girl I had never quite managed to confess my feelings to, and Mia, my best friend, who had always been there for me. I paused, leaning against the doorframe, as memories cascaded through my mind like a film reel. I could almost see Sophie's laughter, her eyes sparkling with mischief, and the way she had always made me feel alive. But alongside her were memories of Mia, her unwavering support and the warmth of her friendship. It was a bittersweet symphony, filled with what-ifs and missed opportunities. Just as suddenly as it had begun, the melody began to fade, leaving me in a contemplative silence. I felt an inexplicable connection to that song, as if it were a thread linking my past to something deeper. A presence lingered, watching me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was meant to uncover something important. The following day, I found myself sitting in a cafe across from Mia. The atmosphere buzzed with chatter and the rich aroma of coffee, but the tension between us was palpable. I studied her face, noting the shadows of frustration that flickered across her features. "Have you heard about the new exhibit at the gallery?" Mia asked, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. Her eyes drifted to the window, seemingly lost in thought. "Yeah, I heard it's supposed to be incredible," I replied, trying to keep the conversation light. "Are you going?" "I might," she said quietly, her gaze still distant. "But it just feels different, you know? Like everything is shifting." I nodded, sensing the weight of her words. "Are you okay? You seem a bit off today." She sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I don't know, Ben. Sometimes I feel like we're not being honest with each other, like there's something unsaid between us." Her words struck me like a jolt of electricity. I opened my mouth to respond, but the truth was tangled within me, caught between my feelings for her and the lingering shadow of Sophie. I shifted in my seat, searching for the right words. Mia, let's not get into it now, she interrupted, her voice tinged with frustration. I have a new project I'm working on, and I need to focus on that. Sure, I said, though I could tell she was trying to deflect. The conversation moved on, but the tension hung thick in the air like an uninvited guest. As I walked home, the haunting melody returned, more intense and persuasive than before. It wrapped around me, pulling me back into memories of Sophie and the moments I had let slip through my fingers. I recalled a night at an art exhibition, a vibrant gallery filled with colorful paintings and lively conversations. Sophie had looked radiant, her smile lighting up the room. I had wanted to tell her how I felt, but as I stood there, paralyzed by fear, I watched her flirt with another man. The regret washed over me like a tidal wave. The music grew louder, drawing me back into that moment, and I felt the familiar sting of lost opportunity. I was a ghost in my own memory, watching as the scene played out, powerless to change the outcome. Suddenly, the music cut off, leaving me in my living room, breathless and filled with anguish. Determined to understand the connection I felt to the melody, I dove into research. I needed to know more about the song that had haunted me. After some digging, I discovered it belonged to an artist named Elias, who had lived in Seattle decades ago. His life had unfolded in a city that felt so familiar yet distant, just like my own feelings for Sophie. As I delved deeper, I learned about Elias's own heartache, a tale of unrequited love that mirrored my own. His songs were filled with longing and loss, a bittersweet echo of emotions I had felt countless times. The more I learned about him, the more I felt as if our lives were intertwined, connected by this invisible thread of shared experiences. Then, as if summoned by my thoughts, the music played again. The haunting melody filled my space, wrapping around me like a warm embrace. I felt compelled to follow it, as though it were guiding me to a place I needed to be. It led me to the park where I had shared so many moments with Sophie, where laughter and joy had once flowed freely. As I stepped into the park, the familiar sights and sounds enveloped me. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, and the sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground. My heart raced as I walked, each step echoing with the music of Elias that resonated in my mind. And then I saw it, a mural painted on an old brick wall, vibrant colors depicting a story of love lost. The artwork was striking, capturing the essence of longing and heartache. I stood before it, overwhelmed by emotion, feeling an undeniable connection to Elias's story. "This is beautiful," I whispered to myself, tracing the outlines of the figures painted on the wall. It was as if the mural was a reflection of my own heart, the pain and beauty of love intertwined. Lost in thought, I didn't notice when a woman approached. I turned, and my breath caught in my throat. It was Sophie. She looked just as stunning as I remembered, her hair catching the sunlight and her eyes sparkling with recognition. My heart raced, but I felt paralyzed, caught between the urge to run to her and the fear of rejection. "Ben?" she said, her voice a soft melody in the midst of the bustling park. I opened my mouth to speak, but words failed me. The music echoed in my mind, urging me to bridge the gap between us. "I didn't expect to see you here," I finally managed, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'm in Seattle for an art event," she replied, her smile warm yet cautious. "What about you?" I was just exploring. This mural caught my eye." I gestured vaguely, my heart pounding as I fought against the urge to confess everything I had been holding back. "Elias's work," she said, stepping closer to the mural. "It speaks so much about love and loss, doesn't it?" "Yes," I replied, feeling the weight of her gaze on me. "It really does. It's powerful." The moment stretched, and I could feel the tension building between us. The melody of Elias's song swelled in my mind, urging me to take a leap of faith, but fear held me back. I wanted to tell her everything, the truth of my feelings, the regret of my hesitation, but the words caught in my throat. As I stood there, frozen in indecision, I felt the world around me fade. The colors of the mural blurred, and the park grew quiet. I knew I had to speak, to bridge the distance that had grown between us, but the courage that had surged within me faltered once more. And just like that, the moment slipped away. The park felt different that day, charged with an energy I couldn't quite pinpoint as I stepped onto the familiar path where I used to walk hand in hand with Sophie. The air was thick with anticipation, and the sky above was awash of brilliant blues and soft whites, as if the universe was conspiring to create the perfect backdrop for my emotional turmoil. It was almost as if the very ground beneath my feet pulsed with the rhythm of the melody that had haunted my thoughts for days. As I wandered deeper into the park, the memory of the song lingered in my mind, each note weaving seamlessly with the images of my past. I had spent countless afternoons here, each one a fragment of a story I wanted desperately to relive. But today, there was something different about the atmosphere. I felt a pull, a magnetic force guiding me forward, urging me to uncover what lay ahead. Then I stumbled upon it. A mural, vibrant and alive, painted on the side of an old brick wall. The colors were bold, a mix of reds, blues, and yellows that seemed to dance with emotion. It depicted a couple, their faces contorted with longing, surrounded by swirling clouds and a backdrop of abstract beauty. As I stared at the mural, a wave of emotions crashed over me. Sadness, nostalgia, and an unshakable sense of loss. It was as if Elias, the artist whose music had entranced me, had poured his heart into this piece, capturing the essence of unrequited love and the ache of missed opportunities. "Wow," I whispered, my voice barely above a breath as I traced the lines of the painting with my fingers. "This is incredible." I felt someone approaching, and I turned to see a woman walking toward me. Time seemed to slow as she came into focus, and my heart skipped a beat. It was Sophie. She looked just as I remembered, her hair cascading in soft waves, her eyes bright with curiosity. I stood frozen, unsure of whether to greet her or retreat into the shadows of my uncertainty. "Sophie," I managed to say, my voice trembling slightly. "Ben?" she replied, a hint of surprise in her tone. "What are you doing here?" I was just admiring this mural," I stammered, gesturing vaguely at the artwork behind me. "I didn't expect to see you." "Yeah, I'm here for an art event," she said, glancing at the mural, then back at me. "It's beautiful, isn't it? I love how it captures the complexity of love." I nodded, feeling an ache in my chest. "It really is. It reminds me of things left unsaid." Sophie raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting slightly. "What do you mean by that?" I hesitated, the weight of my unspoken feelings pressing down on me like a heavy fog. The music played in my mind, urging me to speak, to confess. But as I opened my mouth to say the words, doubt flooded my mind. What if I misread the moment? What if she didn't feel the same? Before I could gather my thoughts, Sophie continued, "You know, I was just thinking about how easy it is to let moments slip away. I've done it more times than I can count." Her words resonated deeply, stirring something within me. "Yeah," I replied softly. "I think we all have our regrets." There was a silence between us, charged with a tension that was both thrilling and terrifying. I wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap that had formed between us over the years. But just as I opened my mouth to speak, the melody from earlier surged back into my consciousness, filling me with a sense of urgency. "Sophie," I started, my voice steadying, "I've been thinking about us a lot lately, about what could have been." She looked at me, her eyes searching mine, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of something. Hope, perhaps? But just as quickly, that flicker was extinguished by the shadow of uncertainty that loomed over us. "Ben, she began, but before she could finish, the sound of laughter and chatter broke the tension. A group of people approached, drawn to the mural, and I felt my moment slipping away. "Maybe we should talk later," I suggested, my heart sinking as the fear of losing this opportunity wrapped around me like a vice. "I don't want to interrupt your event." Sophie's expression shifted to one of understanding, but there was a hint of disappointment in her eyes. "Yeah, maybe you're right. I should go say hi to some friends. I nodded, feeling the distance between us widening. I hope the event goes well. Thanks, Ben, she said, offering a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. It was nice to see you. As she walked away, a part of me wanted to call out, to stop her and say everything I had held back for so long. But the words lodged in my throat, heavy and unyielding. Instead, I turned back to the mural, the vibrant colors now feeling dull and lifeless. The song echoed in my head, a haunting reminder of what I had failed to express. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I had come to this park seeking answers, hoping that the music would guide me to a resolution. Instead, I felt more lost than ever. The mural stood before me, a testament to love's complexities, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had let another chance slip through my fingers. In that moment, I closed my eyes, willing myself to remember the moments I had shared with Sophie. Those afternoons filled with laughter, the quiet conversations under starlit skies, and the warmth of her hand in mine. Each memory was a piece of a puzzle I couldn't quite put together. Suddenly, the melody returned, more insistent than before. It surged through me, filling the cracks of my heart with a bittersweet ache. It was as if Elias himself was urging me to confront my fears, to embrace the uncertainty of love rather than shy away from it. I opened my eyes, determination flooding through me. I couldn't let fear dictate my life any longer. I had to find a way to express what I felt, to confront both Sophie and the tangled web of emotions I had woven with Mia. As I walked away from the mural, I realized that while the past might be filled with missed opportunities, the present was a blank canvas. The song of Elias echoed in my heart, reminding me that love, in all its forms, was worth pursuing, even if it meant confronting the possibility of heartache. With newfound resolve, I headed toward the exit of the park, ready to face whatever awaited me. I wouldn't let this chance slip away, not again. As the darkness of night enveloped me, I found myself drifting into a dream, one that felt more vivid than any I had experienced before. I was in a vast, open field, surrounded by a gentle breeze that whispered secrets to the stars. The air was thick with a sense of anticipation, as though something extraordinary was about to unfold. I could see a figure in the distance, illuminated by the soft glow of moonlight. As I approached, the figure became clearer, and I recognized him instantly. It was Elias. "Ben," he said, his voice smooth and resonant, as if the very essence of the night had given it life. "I've been waiting for you." "Waiting for me?" I echoed, my heart racing. "Why?" "Because you're at a crossroads, my friend. You've been haunted by the weight of your choices, and it's time to confront them." He gestured around us, and I noticed the landscape shifting, becoming a swirling tapestry of memories. Flashes of laughter, moments of longing, and the bittersweet ache of missed opportunities. "I don't understand," I confessed, feeling a mix of confusion and desperation. "What do you want from me? Why can't I just move on?" Elias stepped closer, his eyes searching mine. "You're not just moving on, Ben. You're running away from your truth. The music that has been following you is a call to action, a reminder of the love you've left unspoken." I took a deep breath, the weight of his words sinking in. "But what if I'm too late? What if I've already lost Sophie forever?" "It's never too late," he replied firmly, his voice echoing with conviction. "I know what it's like to hesitate. I lost my great love because I let fear dictate my choices. I waited too long to speak my truth, and now I can only watch the shadows of what could have been." "Your love?" I asked, curiosity peaking within me. "What happened?" He looked away for a moment, lost in thought. "We had everything. Passion, dreams, a beautiful future. But I was scared. I thought I had time. I thought there would always be another chance. So I stayed silent, hoping she would somehow understand how I felt. She didn't. One day, she was gone, and I was left with nothing but regret." The words hung heavily in the air between us, each syllable carving into my heart. "I don't want to end up like you, Elias. I can't live with that kind of regret. But how do I make things right? How do I find the courage to speak my truth?" The first step is realizing that courage isn't the absence of fear, he said, his gaze steady. It's the willingness to act despite it. You're afraid of losing Sophie, but what about Mia? What about the unspoken bond that's been growing between you two? You're at risk of losing her too. I felt a pang in my chest at the mention of Mia. Our conversations had been filled with tension lately, unacknowledged feelings bubbling beneath the surface. I care about Mia, but I don't know if I'm ready to confront those feelings. It's complicated. Complicated doesn't mean impossible, Elias urged. You have to face both of them, Sophie and Mia. You need to understand what they mean to you and what you truly want. The music is your guide. Ben, let it lead you. As his words resonated within me, the landscape around us shifted once again, morphing into a scene from my past. I was standing in the gallery, surrounded by vibrant art pieces, and there was Sophie, laughing and flirting with another man. My heart sank as I watched the scene play out, feeling the familiar sting of regret wash over me. Do you see it? Elias's voice brought me back. Do you see how your hesitation has drawn you into this cycle of pain? I see it, I replied, my voice barely a whisper. I should have told her how I felt that night. I should have fought for what mattered. Instead, I stood by, paralyzed. Exactly, he said, stepping forward. And now you have a chance to break free from that paralysis. Don't let fear dictate your actions any longer. The music will always be there to guide you, but you have to be willing to listen. I nodded, my heart racing with newfound determination. But how do I approach her? What if I mess it up again? Elias smiled gently, and I could see a flicker of hope in his eyes. You won't know unless you try. Speak from your heart. That's all anyone can ever ask for. The truth resonates louder than anything else. Trust that the connection you share will guide you. Suddenly, the dream began to fade, the vibrant colors around us dissolving into a misty haze. Wait, I called out, panic rising within me. Don't leave yet. I'm not leaving you, he reassured me, his figure becoming more ethereal. I'll always be with you, Ben. Remember, love is a risk worth taking. Embrace it. As the last remnants of the dream slipped away, I awoke with a start, my heart pounding in my chest. The morning sunlight streamed through my window, illuminating my room with a warmth that felt both inviting and intimidating. I took a deep breath, the echoes of Elias's words still ringing in my ears. Courage isn't the absence of fear, I murmured to myself, trying to solidify the lesson I had just learned. It's the willingness to act. Feeling a surge of adrenaline, I jumped out of bed and got dressed, my mind racing with possibilities. I needed to see Mia. I had to confront everything that had been left unsaid between us. But as I prepared to leave, doubt crept in. What if she didn't feel the same way? What if I lost her too? Shaking my head to dispel the negativity, I grabbed my jacket and headed out the door. The world outside was alive with the sounds of the city, but my mind was focused on one thing: finding Mia. As I reached the cafe where we often met, I felt a knot forming in my stomach. What if she was busy? What if she didn't want to see me? But I pushed those thoughts aside, determined to face whatever came next. I spotted her sitting at our usual table, a sketchbook in front of her, her brow furrowed in concentration. My heart skipped a beat at the sight of her, and I felt the pull of our shared history. Taking a deep breath, I approached. "Mia," I called softly, and she looked up, her expression shifting from surprise to something more guarded. "Ben," she replied, a hint of uncertainty in her voice. "Hey, can we talk?" I asked, my heart racing. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Sure, what's on your mind?" As I sat down, I struggled to find the right words. I've been thinking a lot lately about everything, about us, about how things have been between us. Her gaze intensified, and I could sense the tension building. "What do you mean?" I hesitated, remembering Elias's words. "I don't want to hide anymore. I've been scared to acknowledge how I feel about you, and I realize that's not fair to either of us." Mia blinked, clearly taken aback. "Ben, No, let me finish. I interrupted, my voice gaining strength. I care about you, Mia, more than I've been willing to admit. You've always been there for me, and I've let my confusion get in the way of seeing what's right in front of me. She looked down at her sketchbook, her expression unreadable. I never knew you felt that way. I thought you were just caught up with Sophie. I admitted, my heart aching at the thought of Sophie. But I also realized that I've been neglecting what's right here. I shouldn't have let my feelings for her cloud my judgment about what we have. Mia's eyes met mine, searching for sincerity. Ben, I've always had feelings for you. I just didn't know how to tell you. It's complicated with everything that's happened. I know it's complicated, I replied, my heart racing. But I don't want to lose you. I want to figure this out together. For a moment, silence enveloped us, thick with unspoken words and emotions. I felt a glimmer of hope, but I also sensed the walls between us were still high. Mia, I know I've hurt you by being indecisive. I continued, my voice softening. But I'm ready to be honest. I don't want to let fear dictate my choices anymore. She took a deep breath, her expression shifting as she processed my words. It's scary to put ourselves out there, Ben. What if we end up hurting each other? Then we'll face it together, I said, my heart pounding. I don't want to live with regret. I want to fight for what matters, even if it's scary. The tension in the air was palpable, and for a moment, I thought she might lean closer. But then she pulled back slightly, her eyes clouded with uncertainty. I need time to think about this. I felt a sinking sensation in my chest, but I nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Take all the time you need. I had to be honest with you. As I sat at the small round table in the corner of the cafe, absent-mindedly stirring my coffee, the steam curling up toward my face like a whispered secret. The aroma was familiar, yet it felt strangely distant amidst the whirlwind of thoughts clouding my mind. Mia was supposed to meet me here, and as I waited, my heart raced in anticipation, not just for her arrival, but for the conversation I knew we needed to have. The air was thick with unspoken words, and I felt the weight of them pressing down on me like a heavy fog. When Mia finally walked in, her presence lit up the dimly lit cafe. Her dark hair flowed over her shoulders, and she wore a simple yet elegant blue dress that accentuated her figure. I couldn't help but notice how her eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and apprehension, mirroring my own feelings. As she approached, I stood, giving her a warm smile, recognizing the tension that lay just beneath the surface. "Hey, Ben," she greeted, settling into the chair across from me. "Sorry I'm late. I got caught up with work." "No problem," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, even though my heart felt like it was beating out of my chest. "I've been thinking about a lot of things lately." Mia raised an eyebrow, a hint of curiosity breaking through her initial reserve. "Like what? You've seemed a bit off, I guess. Is it about the art project you've been working on?" I took a deep breath. This was it. I needed to be honest with her, to break through the wall of unspoken feelings that had grown between us. "Actually, it's about us, and everything that's been happening." Her expression shifted, and I could see the flicker of surprise in her eyes. "Us? What do you mean?" I hesitated, feeling the weight of my words. "I mean, I've been thinking about our friendship, about how it feels like there's something more between us. But I've been so focused on my own confusion about Sophie that I've neglected to be honest with you." Mia leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Ben, I appreciate your honesty, but it's complicated. You've been so wrapped up in your feelings for Sophie that I didn't want to interfere. I didn't want to be the one holding you back." "Interfere?" I echoed, a knot forming in my stomach. "Mia, it's not about that. I've just been so confused about everything, and I realize now that I've taken you for granted. You've always been there for me, and I never truly acknowledged how much that means." She sighed, her gaze drifting to the window where raindrops raced down the glass. "I've had feelings for you, Ben, but you were always so focused on Sophie that I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know if I should say anything at all." Her words hung in the air, and I felt a rush of emotions. Relief, frustration, and a sense of urgency. Why didn't you say anything? We've been friends for so long, and I hate that we've danced around this for so long. I was scared, she admitted, looking back at me, her eyes searching mine for understanding. What if it ruined our friendship? What if you didn't feel the same way? I didn't want to risk losing you. Losing me? The thought sent a pang of realization through me. Mia, I don't want to lose you either, but I also don't want to keep pretending that everything is fine when it's not. I feel like I'm caught between two worlds, and I don't know how to navigate them. Mia's expression softened, and I could see the hurt mingling with her understanding. I get it, Ben. We're both stuck in this limbo, but talking about it is a step forward, isn't it? We owe it to ourselves to at least be honest. Honesty, I repeated, the word tasting bitter on my tongue. It's what I've been lacking. I've been afraid to confront my feelings, afraid to risk everything with you or with Sophie. Maybe it's time to stop being afraid, Mia said quietly, her voice steady. You have to decide what you really want. I can't be the one to make that choice for you. I could feel the weight of her words pressing down on me, and for a moment, the cafe faded into the background. I was trapped in my own thoughts, the haunting melody of Elias' song echoing in my mind, a reminder of every moment I had hesitated, every opportunity one had let slip through my fingers. Maybe I need to take a leap of faith, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. But how do I know which direction to jump? Mia leaned forward, her eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my heart race. You follow your heart, Ben. It's messy and complicated, but you have to listen to it. What does it tell you? I thought of Sophie, the way her laughter danced in the air, the way she had lit up my world, and then I thought of Mia, her unwavering support, the way she always seemed to understand me without words. The contrast was stark, and I felt torn between the two, like I was standing at a crossroads with no clear path. I don't know, I confessed, the vulnerability of my admission stinging. I wish I could just figure it out. I don't want to hurt either of you. Mia's expression softened, her frustration giving way to empathy. You're not going to be able to avoid hurting someone, Ben, but you have to be true to yourself. If you care about both of us, then you need to be honest. I am trying, I said, my voice rising slightly in desperation. But every time I think I have clarity, I feel like I'm back to square one. And then there's Elias' music, and I don't know if it's guiding me or haunting me. Elias? She asked, tilting her head in curiosity. What does he have to do with any of this? I sighed, realizing how intertwined it all was. The song, it keeps coming back, and I feel this connection to it. It's like it's calling out to me, urging me to confront my feelings, to make a choice. But every time I'm about to act, I freeze. Maybe the song is a reminder that you have the power to change your narrative, Mia suggested, her eyes brightening with inspiration. It's not just a reminder of what you've lost, but a call to action. What if it's pushing you to embrace the uncertainty and take a chance on love in whatever form it takes? I looked at her, absorbing her words. So you're saying that I should let go of my fear and just go for it? Yes, she exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. You can't control everything, Ben. Sometimes, you just have to take that leap and trust that you'll land where you're meant to be. I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me, but it was quickly overshadowed by doubt. And what if I fall flat on my face? What if I choose wrong? Then you dust yourself off and try again, she replied, her voice unwavering. You're not alone in this. I'll be right here, cheering you on, no matter what you decide. The sincerity in her words warmed my heart, and I realized how much I had taken her support for granted. Mia, I don't want to lose you. You mean so much to me, more than I've ever let on. And you mean a lot to me, too, she said softly, her gaze unwavering. But it's time for you to acknowledge your own feelings. You can't keep using me as a safety net while you figure out your feelings for Sophie. I nodded, the weight of her honesty sinking in. You're right. I've been so focused on my own confusion that I haven't considered how this affects you. I need to be brave for both of us. Exactly, Mia said, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "And Ben, whatever you choose, I'll support you. Just be honest with yourself and with us." As we sat there, the atmosphere around us shifted. The cafe buzzed with life, but in that moment, it felt like we were in our own world, a safe space where we could confront the complexities of our emotions. I felt a sense of clarity beginning to form, and though I still had so many uncertainties swirling in my mind, I knew I had to embrace them. "Thank you, Mia," I said, my voice earnest, "for pushing me to confront this, for being you." She smiled, a genuine warmth spreading across her face. "Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" I asked, my heart racing at the prospect of what was to come. "Promise me that you'll listen to your heart and not let fear dictate your choices." "I promise," I said, feeling a newfound determination welling up inside me. "I'll listen. I'll be brave." With that, a sense of hope blossomed between us, a fragile but potent thread weaving our lives together. I knew I had a journey ahead of me, one filled with uncertainty, but for the first time in a long while, I felt ready to embrace whatever came next. The night of the exhibition finally arrived, and I could feel a mix of anticipation and dread swirling in my stomach. As I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my shirt for what felt like the 100th time, I couldn't shake off the weight of the decision looming over me. The melody of Elias's song echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of what I had to confront, not just with Sophie, but with myself. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of my apartment and into the cool evening air. The streets of Seattle were alive with the buzz of excitement. Art enthusiasts, critics, and curious onlookers filled every corner, their laughter and chatter mingling with the soft strains of music wafting from nearby venues. I walked toward the gallery, each step heavy with the memories of missed opportunities and unspoken words. As I entered the gallery, the atmosphere enveloped me. The walls were adorned with vibrant colors and striking forms. Every piece seemed to tell a story, much like my own. I scanned the room, searching for Sophie among the crowd. It felt as if time slowed down. I could see people mingling, admiring the art, but all I could focus on was the thought of finally speaking to her. "Ben!" A familiar voice broke through my reverie. It was Mia, her face lighting up as she approached me. "You made it!" "Yeah, I wouldn't miss it," I replied, forcing a smile even as my heart raced. I couldn't help but notice how beautiful she looked, her hair cascading over her shoulders, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "How's the project going?" "It's coming along. I'm excited to share it with you soon," she said, her tone cheerful but with an underlying tension that I couldn't ignore. I felt a pang of guilt for what I was about to do tonight, but I couldn't let that deter me any longer. "I'm really looking forward to it," I said, trying to sound sincere. "Have you seen Sophie yet?" Mia's expression changed slightly, a flicker of something, jealousy, perhaps, crossed her face before she masked it with a smile. "I think she's over by the main installation. You should go talk to her." "I will," I replied, but the words felt heavy in my mouth. I could still feel the pull of the melody in my chest, urging me to take this leap. As I moved deeper into the gallery, I could hear the soft notes of Elias's music playing in the background, creating a surreal atmosphere. Each note seemed to resonate with my pulse, pushing me toward Sophie, yet at the same time, it anchored me in my insecurities. Finally, I spotted her, standing in front of a large canvas, her gaze fixed intently on the artwork. There she was, Sophie, the woman who had captivated my heart and mind for years. Her presence was magnetic, and I felt an overwhelming urge to just walk up to her and say everything I had been holding back. But as I approached, my confidence wavered. What if she didn't feel the same way? What if I ruined everything? "Ben!" Her voice broke through my thoughts as she turned to face me, surprise lighting up her features. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Hey, Sophie," I managed to say, trying to keep my voice steady. "I wouldn't miss your exhibition for the world." "Thank you. That means a lot. What do you think of the pieces?" she asked, her eyes scanning my face for a reaction. "They're incredible. You've really captured something special here," I replied, gesturing at the vibrant colors and emotive brushstrokes. I can see so much of you in this work. Sophie smiled, her cheeks flushing slightly. I've poured everything into this. It's a reflection of my journey, you know? I know exactly what you mean, I said, my heart pounding louder than ever. Speaking of journeys, there's something I've been meaning to talk to you about. Just as I was about to dive into the depths of my feelings, the music swelled, filling the space with a haunting beauty. I felt the moment shift, as if the universe was conspiring to give me the courage I needed. Ben! Sophie looked at me expectantly, her brows slightly furrowed in curiosity. What is it? I took a deep breath, my hands trembling slightly. Sophie, Suddenly, Mia appeared at my side, her presence like a sudden gust of wind that knocked the breath out of me. Oh, there you are. I was looking for you, she said, her tone overly cheerful, completely oblivious to the charged atmosphere. Hey, Mia, I managed, my heart sinking as I realized the moment was slipping away. Just admiring the art? Mia asked, her eyes darting between us. It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, it really is, Sophie replied, her expression shifting to one of confusion as she tried to read the situation. I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. I had finally mustered the courage to confront my feelings, and now it was being derailed. Mia, this isn't the best time. Oh, come on, Mia interrupted, her voice a bit too loud for comfort. Let's not ruin the mood. We're all here to support Sophie, right? Of course, I said, forcing a smile. But I really needed to talk to Sophie about something important. Sophie's eyes flickered with uncertainty, and I could see a mixture of emotions crossing her face. Confusion, disappointment, and perhaps even something deeper. Is everything okay? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Yeah, everything's fine, I lied, feeling the weight of the truth pressing down on me. Just something I've been thinking about. Let's grab a drink. We can celebrate Sophie's work, Mia suggested, her enthusiasm palpable as she grabbed my arm and started to pull me away. I looked back at Sophie, who stood there with a hesitant smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. In that moment, I felt like I was being torn in two directions. One toward the unresolved feelings I had for Sophie, and the other toward the growing complexity of my relationship with Mia. Mia, wait, I said, pulling free from her grasp. I really need to talk to Sophie. Mia's expression faltered for a moment, surprise flickering across her features.
Ben, come onorevole.
It's not the right time for this. We can talk later. I can't keep putting this off, I replied, my voice firm despite the tremor in my hands. Sophie deserves to know how I feel. Ben, Mia started, but I was already stepping back towards Sophie. The moment felt surreal, the air charged with unspoken words and emotions. I could hear the music in the background rising and falling, almost as if it was urging me to be brave. Sophie, I said, my voice steadying as I turned to face her fully. I've wanted to tell you something for a long time. The truth is, I've had feelings for you since the first time we met. I just never knew how to say it. For a moment, silence enveloped us, the world around us fading into a blur. Sophie's eyes widened, and I could see a flicker of hope in them, but also a hint of uncertainty. Ben, she began, but before she could finish, Mia stepped in again, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. Seriously, let's not do this here, Mia interjected, her tone sharp. This is Sophie's night. We shouldn't be dragging personal drama into it. I felt a rush of frustration. This isn't just drama for me, Mia. This is about my feelings, about us, about everything. Sophie deserves to hear what I have to say, and I deserve a chance to say it. The tension in the air was palpable, and I could see Sophie's expression shifting, caught between the two of us. I don't want to ruin anything, she finally said, her voice soft, almost vulnerable. Mia crossed her arms, her stance defensive. You won't ruin anything by waiting for a more appropriate moment. Ben, please. But I couldn't back down now. I looked at Sophie, my heart racing as I tried to convey everything I felt in that moment. Sophie, Look, let's just take a breath here, Mia suggested, her tone still firm. We can talk after the exhibition, okay? I promise we can figure this out. Just don't make this night uncomfortable for Sophie. I felt the anger boiling inside me. This isn't about making it uncomfortable, Mia. This is about being honest. Sophie glanced between us, her face a mixture of confusion and concern. Maybe we should all just take a moment, she said quietly, stepping back slightly. I felt my heart drop as the weight of the moment shifted again. The music, once a source of courage, now felt like a reminder of what I was losing. The magic was fading, and I could see it in Sophie's eyes, her hope dimming as the reality of the situation set in. Okay, I said finally, my voice low. Maybe you're right, but this isn't over. As I turned away, the melody of Elias's song faded into the background, leaving me with an aching sense of loss and regret. I had come so close, yet here I was, once again standing on the precipice of the air hung heavy with anticipation as I stood there, my heart racing in my chest. I could see Sophie, vibrant and full of life, surrounded by admirers, her laughter ringing like the melody of the song that had haunted me for days. I had been so close. I had almost mustered the courage to tell her how I felt, to finally lay bare the emotions I had kept tucked away for so long. But now, with my heart in my throat, I felt as if the universe had conspired against me. Mia, I exclaimed, my voice strained, catching sight of her as she approached. It was like a jolt of electricity shot through me. I had been so focused on Sophie, the ghost of my past, that I hadn't even considered how Mia would feel about this moment. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing, she replied, her voice sharp, cutting through the atmosphere like a knife. You look like you're about to confess your undying love, Ben. Is that what this is? I felt the heat rise to my cheeks, embarrassment washing over me. It's not like that, I stammered, trying to keep my composure. I just wanted to talk to her. Talk or confess? Mia's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of something, jealousy, perhaps, crossing her features. You've been so preoccupied with her. Maybe it's time you realize there are other people in your life who care about you. Mia, please, I begged, feeling the tension rise. This isn't just about you or me or even Sophie. It's about everything I've been through. The music, the memories. It's all connected. Connected? She scoffed, crossing her arms. You think this is some sort of grand romantic gesture? You're just running away from the reality of what you really want. I swallowed hard, her words striking a chord deep within me. What do you mean? I asked, my voice low, almost a whisper. Ben, you've always had this thing for Sophie. But what about us? What about the times we spent together, the moments we shared? Do they mean nothing to you? Her voice trembled, revealing the depth of her hurt. It's not that simple, I replied, frustration creeping into my tone. I didn't choose to have these feelings for Sophie. They just happened. And now, with this music playing, it feels like fate is pushing me toward her. And what about me? She shot back, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. What happens to me in this fate of yours? I've always been here, and I'm tired of waiting for you to make a decision. I took a step back, the weight of her words crashing down on me like a wave. Mia, I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't ask for any of this. My voice cracked, and I felt a painful lump forming in my throat. I need to figure things out. Figure what out? She asked, her voice rising. If you're going to keep running back to Sophie, then just go. Don't drag me into this mess. I deserve more than being your second choice. The hurt in her voice cut deep, and I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. You're not a second choice, Mia. You've always been important to me. I don't know how to choose. Maybe that's the problem, she said softly, her anger giving way to resignation. You need to stop letting fear dictate your choices, Ben. Life isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. Sometimes you have to create it. As I stood there, engulfed in my own turmoil, I glanced back at Sophie. She looked blissful, laughing with her admirers, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. The music swelled around us, a crescendo of emotions that felt almost palpable. I could feel Elias's presence, urging me to make a move, but the weight of my indecision was suffocating. Mia, I began, but she cut me off. "Just go," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Go to her, but know that if you do, you might lose me forever. I won't be someone you can turn to when things don't go your way." Her words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I felt a deep sense of loss at the thought of losing her, the one person who had stood by me through everything. But at the same time, the call of what could have been with Sophie was intoxicating. I opened my mouth to respond, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I just nodded slowly, feeling utterly defeated. "Fine," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I won't keep you waiting any longer." As I turned to walk towards Sophie, I could hear Mia's footsteps echoing behind me, each step a painful reminder of the choice I was about to make. My heart raced as I approached Sophie, the laughter around us fading into a dull roar. "Hey, Sophie," I said, trying to sound casual. "It's been a while." She turned, her eyes lighting up as they met mine. "Ben, I didn't expect to see you here." Her smile was radiant, and for a moment, I felt the weight of the world lift. "Yeah, I figured I'd check it out," I replied, gesturing vaguely to the art around us. "It looks amazing. It really does. The energy in this place is incredible," she said, her enthusiasm infectious. "You should see the mural over there. It's stunning." "Yeah, I hesitated, the words catching in my throat. This was the moment I had been waiting for, yet I felt paralyzed. The music played softly in the background, wrapping around us like a warm embrace, urging me to speak. "Sophie, there's something I need to tell you," I finally blurted out, my heart pounding. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about what happened that night at the exhibition." Her expression shifted, curiosity mingling with a hint of concern. "What do you mean?" I hesitated, I said, my voice cracking under the pressure of my confession. "I hesitated to tell you how I really felt, and I've regretted it ever since." A flicker of surprise crossed her face, but before she could respond, I felt a presence behind me. I turned slightly to see Mia standing there, her expression a mixture of anger and betrayal. "Ben, we need to talk," Mia said, her tone firm. Sophie looked between us, confusion etching her features. "Is everything okay?" "No, it's not," Mia exclaimed, her voice rising. "This is exactly what I was worried about. You can't just waltz in here and drop a bombshell on Ben when he's clearly still figuring things out." "Mia, this isn't the time," I said, frustration bubbling inside me. "I'm trying to have an honest conversation here." "An honest conversation?" she echoed, her eyes flashing. "Or a convenient excuse to run back to the past?" Sophie shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us. Maybe we should all just take a breath?" "No," Mia shot back. "Ben needs to make a choice. He can't keep playing with our feelings like this." I felt the tension escalate, the air thick with unspoken words and emotions. "This isn't just about you, Mia," I said, my voice rising. "I'm trying to figure out what's real, what I really want." "And what is that?" she demanded, crossing her arms. "Is it Sophie, or is it me? Because I'm tired of waiting for you to decide." The words hit me like a punch to the gut, and I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces. I glanced at Sophie, who looked utterly lost, and then back at Mia, who was visibly trembling with emotion. I don't know," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I just don't know." As the music swelled around us, I felt an overwhelming sense of despair wash over me. I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, torn between the past and the present, between two women who meant the world to me in different ways. The pain of indecision cut deeper than anything I had ever felt, and I could sense the weight of my choices bearing down on me. "Mia, I never wanted to hurt you," I said, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "You mean so much to me, and I thought I was doing the right thing by trying to figure it out. But I can see now that it's only causing more pain. Maybe it's time you stop running away from your feelings. Ben, she replied, her voice softening. You can't keep avoiding the truth forever. I looked at her, at the way her eyes glistened with unshed tears. I'm so sorry, I whispered, feeling a sense of helplessness wash over me. I just wish I could make this easier for you. But you can't, Mia said, her voice steady despite her emotions. You have to confront what you really want. And if that's Sophie, then you need to go after her. Just know that it might mean losing me in the process. My heart sank at her words, the reality of my situation crashing down on me like a wave. I had been so focused on what I thought the air felt heavy as I stood in the dim light of my apartment, the echo of Elias's haunting melody still resonating in my mind. I had faced so much, yet here I was, standing at the precipice of my own uncertainty. The weight of the past clung to me, but I knew it was time to confront Elias, to seek closure, clarity, and perhaps a little courage. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes, letting the music wash over me once more. It felt like a lullaby of lost opportunities and unspoken words, but beneath that layer of melancholy lay a flicker of hope. I had to confront him, not just the artist who had unknowingly intertwined his story with mine, but the embodiment of my fears and regrets. I stepped into the void, ready to encounter my own heart. The dreamscape unfolded around me, a surreal blend of vivid colors and shifting shadows. I found myself in a vast gallery, the walls adorned with paintings that spoke of love and longing. Each stroke of color seemed to pulse with emotion, and at the center stood Elias, his figure illuminated as if he were a beacon in the dark. He looked up, his eyes reflecting 1,000 stories, and I felt an overwhelming urge to approach him. Ben, he said, his voice smooth like the notes of his song. You've come. I need to talk, I replied, my voice wavering ever so slightly. I can't keep living in the shadows of my past, haunted by what could have been. Elias nodded, a knowing smile gracing his lips. You're not alone in this. We all carry our ghosts, but it's what we do with them that defines us. I took a step closer, the air thick with the scent of paint and memories. I've been torn between Sophie and Mia. The music, it drives me towards what I've lost, but it also points to what I might be losing in the present. I can't keep hesitating. Hesitation, he mused, tilting his head as if contemplating the weight of the word. I once hesitated too, and it cost me dearly. The woman I loved slipped through my fingers while I stood frozen, afraid to speak my truth. His gaze intensified, drawing me in. But this is your moment, Ben. You have the power to change your narrative. What if I make the wrong choice? I asked, my heart racing. What if I hurt someone in the process? Elias's expression softened. Every choice carries the risk of pain, but it also holds the potential for joy. It's how you navigate those feelings that matters. The music you hear, it's not just a lament. It's a celebration of second chances, of love that can bloom anew. I swallowed hard, the truth of his words resonating deep within me. I've been so focused on what I've lost that I've ignored what's right in front of me. Mia, she's always been there, yet I was too blind to see it. Elias stepped closer, his presence radiating warmth. Open your heart, Ben. Don't let fear dictate your actions. Trust in your feelings. They will guide you where you need to go. As he spoke, the gallery around us transformed. The walls began to dissolve, replaced by a sunlit park, vibrant with life. I could hear laughter, the sound of children playing, and the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze. There, in the distance, I saw Mia, her laughter ringing like a melody I had longed to hear. Mia, I whispered, the name tasting like a promise on my lips. Elias gestured toward her. Go to her. My heart raced as I took a step forward, the path unfolding beneath me like an invitation. I felt a surge of determination, the weight of indecision lifting as I approached her. She looked up, her eyes sparkling, and for a moment, everything else faded away. Ben! She exclaimed, her smile illuminating the space around us. I didn't think I'd see you here. I had to come, I said, my voice steadying as I drew closer. I've been doing a lot of thinking about us, about everything. Her gaze softened, a mixture of hope and apprehension flickering in her eyes. I've been thinking too. I didn't want to pressure you, but I felt a shift between us. I've been scared, I admitted, my heart pounding, scared of ruining what we have. But I can't ignore my feelings any longer. As I spoke, I noticed Elias watching from a distance, a proud smile on his face, as if he were witnessing a story unfold. I turned back to Mia, drawing in a deep breath. You mean so much to me. You've always been a constant in my life, and I've taken that for granted. Mia, I continued, I realize now that I've been clinging to the past, to what I lost with Sophie, and in doing so, I almost lost you. You've been my rock, my muse, the one who truly sees me. I need to be honest with you. She stepped closer, her eyes glistening with emotion. Ben, I've cared for you for so long. I didn't know how to tell you. I was afraid of ruining our friendship. I don't want to lose you, I replied, my voice catching. I want to explore this to see where it could lead. Life is too short to let fear dictate our choices. I've learned that the hard way. Her smile widened, a mixture of relief and joy flooding her features. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Yes, I said, my heart soaring. I want to be with you, Mia. I want to see where this could go. I'm ready to embrace what's in front of me. Just then, the melody of Elias's song filled the air, wrapping around us like a warm embrace. The world faded again, and I could see Elias standing nearby, his figure illuminated by the soft glow of twilight. Thank you, I whispered to him, my heart brimming with gratitude. Remember, Ben, he said, his voice echoing like the notes of his song. Love is a journey, not a destination. Embrace it fully. Mia turned her gaze toward Elias, her brow furrowing in confusion. Who is he? I glanced back at Elias, understanding dawning on me. He's the artist. His music. It's what brought me here. What helped me find the courage to be honest with you. Elias offered us a nod, a knowing smile on his lips. Sometimes, it takes a little guidance from the past to illuminate the path forward. Mia stepped closer to me, her hand brushing against mine. I'm so glad you found your way back to me. As we stood there, the music swelled, filling the air with a sense of promise. I felt the warmth of Mia's presence, the connection we shared blossoming like a flower in spring. There was a sense of peace, a realization that love, in all its forms, was worth pursuing. And then Elias spoke again, his voice a gentle whisper. Remember, Ben, the song continues. Each note, each moment, is a chance to write your own story. Embrace it. With that, he began to fade, his figure dissolving into the light, but not before I caught one last glimpse of his smile. A smile that told me I was ready to forge my own path. As the last notes of the melody faded into the evening air, I turned to Mia, feeling a sense of liberation wash over me. Let's make our own music, I said softly, my heart full of hope. Yes, she replied, a smile breaking across her face. Together, and as we walked hand in hand, I knew that this was just the beginning of our own symphony, one filled with love, laughter, and the promise of new beginnings.